All right, I think it's live. Yes, it is. Nice. I like how that smells. Lavender. What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? This is how to practice yoga of any kind. Peace. And then online yoga with me in bio. We'll start in a second, guys. This is going to be about 20-30 minutes. Mindset, how to practice yoga. Wisconsin. Big. By the plague. No, I don't. Okay. All right, maybe it's time to turn on the camera, huh?
Hello there. I was thinking we must have like some past life connection though.
Why?
Because like
Why must we?
Why must we?
Why must we?
I was just like reflecting yesterday that she came around the yoga retreat pretty early on in our journey. And she loves you so much. And literally, like when we talk during podcasts, I can just tell how much she cares about us and our journey together.
Yeah.
And then I contemplate, I'm like, but this is just kind of like a lady, just a lady that we've never met before. And she's
A lady.
for so long. Yeah.
Yeah, she did last
With like
about a year.
positive, always saying positive things, always like trying to learn more, always paying for products. And as we think, she must have been like our something in the past life. It could have been anything.
Could have been anything. I don't know.
Could have been anything. But reconnected.
It's all right. All right, we'll start in a second here. Cool. All right. There's a remote for this because the backlight makes it dark. It's right there. Here we go. That's a little better. Maybe no, you know. There we go. That's way better lighting. Okay. Here we go. Recording. What's up, everybody? This is a special episode of Enlightened Masculinity. I'm your host, Yogi Chris, PhD, streaming to you from IMC Base 1 in San Jose, California. And this is going to be a talk about how to practice yoga. A lot of teachers aren't going to tell you about how to practice yoga. And what makes me qualified, just to kind of quickly go through it, because it's a very interesting subject. What makes a person qualified to teach, or what makes them a good yoga practitioner? It's going to be this very similar things to the ways that you should practice yoga. And a lot of people are going to measure it from the outside by how flexible you are, or how spiritual you seem, how you're dressed, how you talk, which is going to go with like kind of the common archetype, or the commonly thought of personality of a yoga practitioner or a spiritual person like that. And that's very sheepish. It's very what's politically correct, what appeals to the masses in terms of that. But there's a quality of experience with yoga. I've mentioned it in several podcasts about, the state of mind that you achieve, like, for example, through transcendental meditation. It makes it very clear and tangible. I've had those experiences just practicing yoga. And as you do the TM, you'll notice that you have moments of TM transcendence just throughout your day. And especially yoga practice, physical practice, really helps to get a glimpse of that. And in a lot of ways, a controlled way. So you stretch your body, you lay in Shavasana after a good yoga stretching routine. And you're just laying there and you stay alert. You don't fall asleep. And as you stay alert, you'll have moments of like letting go of your ego and transcending your ego, so that you stay aware, but it's like you're not yourself. You're looking outward at the world, or you're even looking at your mind, but you don't really associate with your past and who you are. You're just kind of looking. It's like a blank look. You're not numb, you're not dissociated or not present, but you're not and that's what it is. It's a transcendence of your personality and your limited eye consciousness, looking at your mind or looking at your senses. And that it's more about that. In your yoga practice, it's more about that. So I'm Yogi Chris, and I founded a yoga brand. I was already having all of those experiences here and there. And I was a big proponent of Shavasana, like good yoga routine, stretching, breathing, because I did a lot of pranayama for the years that I did it. There are people that practice for like 30, 40, 50 years. And supposedly, if they live really long in the Indian jungle or whatever, they're practicing for like 100 years. And so my small 5 years of dedicated breathwork practice, or, 6 years, 7 years, however it's measured, is very small compared to that. There are other qualities about me that I just God-given, something about how I look inward. I'm reflective at my body, what's going on, my intelligence and my desire to look through the anatomy books and study what's available, so that I'm aware of the state of the art of the physiology and the anatomy, as it relates to yoga. So I have not just the ability to explain it, but it's like an understanding of what's going on in my system when I do my body or whatever. And then as you practice that, then you get even more subtle, where it's like how my external movements affect my thinking, affects my state of mind, affects my mood. And it's a very subtle thing, because where is your mood? If you have a hurt shoulder, I can point to that and, touch it and it hurts. And it's like, but where is your hurt feelings? Maybe you feel it here or there, but it's like, where is that being experienced really? Is it exactly your stomach? If I touch it, is it like, so there is a relationship between the mind and the body, and the external movements and the internal experience. And so a good yoga practice that also ends in a Shavasana, where you're still, quiet, observant, alert, gives you the inner sensitivity of, the outside affecting the inside. And that's, something that naturally I experienced, and I think everybody would experience if they put themselves through the experiences that I did. But I don't recommend the experiences that I did for everybody. But coming from the psychedelics, coming from all the study, coming from an isolated kind of practice where I was antisocial for years, and I was practicing yoga to cope with life, really. And so I dove into it. It was my salvation, like I've said. And so I was extracting all I could from it. And I think a lot of the sincerest, most sincere yoga practitioners of myth and legend, and even of present time, are getting their salvation through the yoga practice. And that's why they're so ardently practicing, which means like, with fervor, which means like with vindication or conviction and a kind of discipline and almost a religiosity where it's like, this is my religion, dude. It's not that Krishna and Buddha and Allah or whatever, who are the Indian gods, Ganesha and Shiva and Brahma. It's not like I'm worshiping multiple deities, it being my religion. And it's not even that I'm worshiping my body like a bodybuilder or any kind of athlete that has no spirituality, but they're worshiping their bodies and their body performance as if it's their religion. Their workout is their religion. It's similar to that, but it is a bridge between the two, where I'm not seeking a purely mental, spiritual experience, and I'm also not ignoring that and just having a physical experience. I am exploring the relationship between mind, body, body, mind, and in it, it is bringing me peace. So that's why I dove so deep into it, and I was able to extract so much about it. And so that's why I can authoritatively say, and then the evidence why I can authoritatively say the things that yoga teachers are not telling you about how to practice yoga is all the testimonies, all the proof, all the people I've helped, all of the yoga studios that have hired me multiple times, not just the first time, but even the first time. And then, of course, another line of evidence, which very few people get to see, and it is what it is. A lot of people, they don't even have the eyes to see. They don't have the eyes to see when I practice yoga, what am I experiencing? And that's also why I like my teachers so much. They are also undervalued in terms of how well they practice. But when I see them practice, I see a lot. I'm like, man, there's so much evolution in their practice. I can see that they've gone through a lot and they are at peace with their body, and they're not violent towards their body, and they've deeply explored the relationship between their body and their mind. And it doesn't mean they have mastery in all the things that are important. Like I say, ninth limb is so much about the social yoga, understanding relationships, communication, and imagination, and how this plays a role in the yoga experience. Now, the yoga experience affects your imagination and communication. It's the ninth limb. So, but they have mastery over these other things, the anatomy and the postures and everything. So how you practice yoga is, it is in pursuit of this state of mind, of clear seeing, not looking through lenses that are distorting what you're seeing. And so your response becomes a response calculated against a distorted perception. So it's going to be the wrong response. It would be like if you had beer goggles on and you're trying to walk a straight line. The input reception, or however you call it, the input variables, the sight is wrong because of the beer goggles, it distorts it. So then your output action is going to be wrong, and you'll start tumbling and losing your balance because you're wearing beer goggles or whatever. That's what emotions do. That's what wonky states of mind do. Things that are off your vibe, that are not content and complaining and, any kind of insecurities or doubts or these things, and there's emotions attached to these, and they distort our perception. And so we end up wobbling through life, making decisions and actions that are, we got the input variables wrong. It would be like somebody gives you an algebra equation, 2x plus y, whatever, equals 7, solve for x. And then you're working, and then come to find out they gave you the wrong equation. You'll never get the right answer if you got the wrong equation to start with. If you do, you got it by accident. So if you're getting the wrong input from life through your senses, through your mind, that's called karma. And cycles of samskara, where you just are repeating actions. Karma is the cause and effect. The samsara and samskaras are different. So the karma is I do something, and that's going to create an effect. And something else has done something, and I'm experiencing the effect. And there's this cause and effect in the universe, and I accumulate karmas, which are going to be kind of debts that need to be paid in some way, a debt of action to resolve it. And so the more that the less I accumulate debts, or the more I settle my debts with the universe, then the more free my soul, literally. And then samsaras are these longer cycles that we go through where we experience repeated events or repeated situations or repeated emotions. You know, like a trigger. When you get triggered on something, a samsara has been triggered. Or sorry, a samskara has been triggered. I was thinking about that. The difference being the samskara is the groove. So when you take repeated actions, it's going to groove in a kind of almost like a sequence, like a domino effect. When this happens, then that happens, and that happens, and that happens, because that's been laid out in your nervous system and your psychology, so that when situation A happens, it's going to cascade all the way to situation Z. And then samsara is going to be this longer cycles in ethereal time that you're going to be re-exposed to the same situations, because your character, and it really all boils back to your character, your persona, your ego, where all of these decisions or the subroutines, the beliefs that the decisions come from are stored in your ego. So how does that relate to physical yoga practice? Everybody starts from where they're at, you know. So if somebody is more interested in the philosophy, then they read the philosophy. If they're more interested in breathing, they do the breathing. If they're more interested in cold exposure, they do that. Stretches, they do that. Meditations, they do that. And I recommend that, but it's going to expand, hopefully, because you'll be limited in experience if you don't expand. Like if you only stick with meditation and never do stretching, or you only do stretching but never do pranayama, or you only do pranayama and never do cold exposure, or you never read the philosophy, then you're missing a lot. And people that do multiple things know you're missing so much. And the thing to do is start from where you're at and understand that the direction you're going in, the point is a state of clear seeing, a contentment. The mind may be happening, but you observe it and you're able to let it go from a place deep within that's very subtle. It's invisible. The ability to let go of your ego, let go of that thought pattern, let go of the tension. It's not the tension, it's the thought creating the tension, which is like, what a subtle awareness. I have a thought connected to this tension. And then, so just how aware a being would need to be aware of that. And then to have enough control to let it go. Like, you know, this happens in any art form, movement art, where they're trying to explain like right leg out. You know, it could be a martial art, it could be yoga, it could be dance, it could be just about anything, soccer. And they're saying, put your foot here, put your hand here. Wrestling, the first time a person does it, their arm goes in the wrong direction. It's like they don't know, they're uncoordinated, and they may not have balance, like the, you know, and it's not anything less than that with the mind. When we're like, let go, and you're like, and it's like the ability, but eventually after thousands of reps, it's like, let go, let go, let go. And you're able to let go so much easier. What? Yeah, is it a comment? It's not a question. Go ahead.
It's a comment. I was about to be a question that I was going to ask you in the yoga group this morning, because I noticed in my own practice today that about halfway through I started to get really agitated, and my mind started saying like, this isn't even yoga, this is so stupid, I don't want to do this pose. And like for a second, you know, I almost started to fall for it, and then I was like, wait a minute, like this isn't even real. Like I'm purging whatever, some kind of tensions and like negative emotions through this yoga practice that is feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But just if I let it go and I just relax through this and I just maintain my breath and not put any force into it, by the end of my practice, I'm not going to feel any agitation at all. And that was true for me. And then my question in the yoga group for you was going to be like, why does this happen? Because it's not my first time that I've noticed that. I usually will be about 30 minutes into my yoga workout.
Well, it happened that you get real frustrated
I start to
sometimes.
get frustrated and like want to stop, and I'm getting mad at the poses, but I have
It's a lack of presence. You're trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so we get frustrated at life when we have somewhere else to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be doing this right now.
Yeah.
Because I have something else I want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense, because one of my newer like self-talk, like
I'm hot, guys, so I got to take this off.
one of my newer self-talk phrases has been like, this is my time for me and I could really do this all day, but I only have like an hour, so I'm really going to enjoy like every single.
Yeah,
second of
see,
it.
that's the thing with your yoga practice. Think if you have just an hour to do it,
Yeah.
and of course that you're including shavasana at the end and maybe some warm up at the beginning, but whatever, you have this hour to check out of the rest of life. You send out your notifications. I'm yoga for an hour. Not going to be responsive, intention, and then you have an hour to do it. It would be better to enjoy your hour. Just think about this. What is better? Enjoying the hour of yoga practice as much as you could, whatever that means. But just, if that was your intention, second by second, minute by minute, that every minute you were like, am I enjoying this? What could I do to enjoy this more? And you enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Versus this other objective. I want to get to that pose, or I want to complete this many poses, or I want to feel exercised in this part of my body by the time I'm done.
Yeah.
And you know, that may be all right to have that intention too, but it should come under the first one, enjoying it. And as you mature, you're in a sense, your sophistication and just the quality of your practice will change. It'll evolve. So like, let's say in the beginning, people, they practice yoga and what makes them feel so good is playing music, listening to music when they do it. It's not that that's wrong. It's that that's influencing a vibe in you. And that's what you like. And do you need that to do that? Maybe now you choose to, because without the music, you aren't able to create that seemingly. And so as a crutch, you use it as a third wheel, as a training wheel, you use it. And maybe sometimes you revisit it because sometimes that's what you want, but understand that there is, there's level of consciousness or conscious awareness and unconsciousness. And so we may be playing something around so that it's affecting our unconsciousness. That would be the same thing as like lighting an incense or a candle or something. It's affecting my unconscious mind, the subconsciousness. While I'm practicing, I'll be subtly benefited by this scent or this appearance. That's why clean your room before you practice, because the mess is going to fuck with you. And even like sweep or just clean, like make it more holy, more under your control. Like a person, when they get angst, anxiety, or confusion, they are feeling not in control of their environment. Start controlling your environment. Put this over there, put that there, change that, flip that, sweep that, fold that, put that away, less anxiety. You have control over what's going on. Change the lighting, this and that. Oh, yeah, right on. So with your yoga practice, the thing is that your body, like the music, is also external to you.
Like even like listening to cues from a teacher?
That is definitely external to you. Now, there's one thing about listening to cues because you're studying and learning a sequence versus you need that. Well, when you're in the learning process, it's going to be difficult to really have a deep experience of yoga when you're learning a sequence, because you're learning the sequence, you're learning the movements. You also don't want to be mindless about the postures you're practicing. So it's not just that you're learning them so that you can forget the cues. It's a very subtle thing. It's a edge between I'm so intent on the cues and the language and doing the yoga pose precisely versus the exact opposite, which is I'm totally carefree and careless about how I'm doing the poses because I'm just trying to enjoy the movement or whatever. Doing that there's a benefit to that. When I'm carefree of how to do the pose, I am free of care. So the emotion is a lot less. I have less angst and ambition, and the frustration will less be there. It won't be there if I'm not worried at all about alignment. I'm just doing what feels good. It's going to be difficult to get frustrated, but it's going to be easy to go unconscious. It's going to be easy to just get lost in the sensations and maybe forget what you're doing and not be mindful of things that eventually may result physically in injury, because your muscles, your body has patterns that takes some intervention, conscious intervention to open up. Like I don't just stretch so perfectly just because I'm just doing putting my hand here, like I'm consciously intending bend the leg out or pull from this muscle or that muscle because it balances things.
Yeah.
So there is conscious intention. Now, getting too involved in conscious intention and you lose the fact that, hey man, this is a state. It's a state of mind and being that you're not creating, not cultivating, that you're revealing. Because it's there, it's masked over with all the mental drama, the drama of your own mind that's creating a drama of life just for you. And, you know, so getting too involved in the details of the pose is just part of that whole mental theater. You're supposed to be using the pose to access something deeper, which is subtle.
That's why I love your cues, because you give it like just enough of a second space before you say the next one. So I like integrate, like he just said, like, move right foot forward, knees outward, but you give it just the perfect amount of time to like literally engage each one. Like, even just in your up dog classes, where it's like perfect. And then you're like, oh my gosh, now the knees are activated, now the hamstrings activated, whatever. Like I can. That's why I love you.
Cool. Yeah. Right on. That's a good opportunity to pitch my new yoga online program, Ninth Limb Online. It's Saturday and Sundays. It's about 30 to 45-minute classes. It's on Zoom. You also get the recordings, and it's only $44 this month. Next month, I'll raise it to $55, and then I'll raise it again, and I'll just keep raising it until I don't want to anymore. So if you want to get in and you get all the recordings from now until forever, it's $44 a month, 9 classes a month. So it's about $5 per class. And you just keep them as long as you want. So it's really good. The link is in the description for this on the YouTubes and Facebook and everything. So let's see. So how to practice yoga is with this state of mind. You're now, if you haven't experienced this state of mind, it's going to be hard to use it. You don't know which direction is north. So on a cloudy night, how do you know which direction is north? Because you can't see the North Star. And if it's middle of the night, you don't know which one is east and west. And so it's like, how do I move north? Well, yeah, so there are secrets in nature. So how do I move towards a yogic state of mind, the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind, so I can see clearly through it? Like the mind is all waves and ripples and you can't see to the bottom. So how do I achieve this state of stillness so I can see through me and get to the good stuff? So well, yeah, I think the moss in this example, until I find a better analogy, is your emotions. Are you getting frustrated? Are you getting emotional while you're practicing? Are you trying? That's one of the big things, like people are learning yoga and they're trying to keep pace and they get frustrated because they get lost in with the movement. They're trying to coordinate so many things and you're imbuing your habit with frustration. You're creating a frustration habit. And it's probably, honestly, it's not the first time. It's probably just you have a lot of other frustration habits in your life where that's why one of the powerful things about learning something new. It's not about learning that thing as an adult. You don't really need to. Just do what you do. But you practice your mindset of, white belt mentality of learning something new. How do you approach learning something new? Do you get all frustrated? Do you talk down to yourself? Do you beat yourself up? Do you get expectations that make it unenjoyable? Do you know how to enjoy new? Like a new friend. Do you know how to, like, it's new, or a new schedule, or a new wake up time, like newness to it? And again, there's going to be these two sides of things. Like, everything is always new, so your schedule is never the same. And then that's called undisciplined. Versus, being super disciplined, but nothing's ever new. So you're a robot, you're a slave to that thing. And, having the wisdom to know the difference and not judging from the outside, because from the outside, I may be so disciplined, but from the inside, you don't know that I'm freely making choices and I choose to be this way every day. From the outside, you wouldn't know how free the person is. We judge a person's freedom on their communication, how they respond to life, their responses to life. And when they're out of the ordinary from what we expected, we have to start examining, or depending on how astounding it is, we may start examining, where did that person come from to say that or to act like that? Like, that'll happen when you're like, you'll send me a message, how would you respond to this? And I say this, and you're like, wow. And it's like, where am I coming from that generated those words? Because you have the same words in your vocabulary. So, I construct the sentence or the response from my state of mind. And so good yoga practice makes us more aware of our state of mind. And everybody's going to get some level of this. There is qualities to this. So what I mean is, anybody, anywhere, if you practice some yoga, you'll become a little bit more aware of your state of mind. And it's going to be difficult not to. But there's a quality to your yoga practice, a mindfulness and that you're practicing with, that you can accelerate further, faster than the next guy or girl. So someone else practices yoga 10 years, they may not evolve as much as me. They may evolve more than me. Two different consciousnesses approaching the same subject, putting in the same amount of time, don't grow the same. Two people practice makeup, two people practice guitar, two people practice any subject, put in the same amount of time, external measurement, internally, they change differently. Because there's things that aren't being measured, your attentiveness, your aptitude, your capacities, your interest. There's a lot of things that go into it. So that's why I say make your yoga practice, whatever that is, something that's interesting to you, something that you can be attentive with. Okay. All right, there's that. That's the end of the stream. This is going on Enlightened Masculinity podcast. Now, there's probably people that don't even practice yoga. So I doubt you got to this extent in the recording if you don't. But if you have gotten to the end and you don't practice yoga, I recommend it. I think there are a lot of movement systems, a lot of things that will help you in many ways. I myself do wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I've done different styles of yoga. And obviously, I think mine is the best for me. And that's what I share. And I think that all those other exercises, lifting weights, calisthenics, other fighting arts, boxing and kickboxing, like there's a lot that the world has to offer in movement, running and cycling. And who knows, dude, there's so much. Dance. Nothing seems to offer this spiritual development like yoga. And like I said, there's chanting, there's meditating, there's stretching, there's breathing practices. All of those are as different as kung fu and boxing and swimming. Those are all different, but all of those can be yoga as much as you apply this mentality of I'm looking for a tranquil, content state of mind where my emotions are not distorting. That's what, why athletics is not yoga, because they get emotional. They get all emotional about what they're trying to do. And it's almost a measure of the person. It's more important than when they get all emotional about, but they're not seeing clearly when you're emotional. But that's if they weren't emotional, honestly, they probably wouldn't do the sport because it's really violent against their body. It damages the body. The only reason they're doing that is because they're so emotional. But that's where the martial art comes in, where it's like, I am violent against my body, but I'm not emotionally abusing my body. I'm doing it for self-defense, self-discipline, spiritual advancement. That would be more pure martial arts versus MMA and kickboxing. Those are like sports. So anything you do that you're doing could be a yoga practice, but you'll cultivate a better awareness of this yoga state of mind by actually practicing things called yoga. So again, I'm teaching yoga online. It's all levels. I give lots of variations. The link is in the description or the bio or whatever, wherever. In Instagram here, it's in the bio. And I'll see you online. I'm Yogi Chris. Leave a review for this show. I'll see you on the next one. Jay Guru.